50 years ago, humanity entered a new era, when two heroic explorers took a small step into a new world. Aside from the breakthrough itself, it spurred innovation in agriculture and medicine, business and consumer products. And in a strange way, it brought us all a little closer together. 1969 was the year that Rene Landau and Rene Pardo came together to form LanPar Technologies. As well as being a play on their names, LanPar is an acronym. It stands for the Language for Programming Arrays at Random, and it had a lot of the features that we associate with modern spreadsheets, most notably forward referencing, or as we call it, reactive programming.
I learned a long time ago that by doing the opposite of what an industry is doing, you can come up with all kinds of innovations. In 1971, I found myself delivering a software pitch to 18 vice presidents of all the telephone companies in the United States. AT&T had told us that if one vice president said no, we could not proceed. They unanimously agreed, and the software we licensed them was the world's first spreadsheet. I first met Rene Landau in the mid-60s at McGill University. We were a great team.
My father was a brilliant man. He was incredibly proud of the work that him and Rene did. He had a brilliant mathematical mind.
Together, we organized the world's first international computer art exhibit with the National Film Board, and we developed the world's first educational multimedia game, for which we pursued our Masters of Education at Harvard. At the time, there were no languages which allowed you to program individual cells in spreadsheets, let alone deal with the interrelationships of those cells. In the summer of 1969, Bell Canada faced the problem that AT&T had changed 2,000 cells in the budgeting forms. When the manager of Bell Canada asked how long it would take to reprogram the forms, his internal group quoted him 2 years. With our language that we proposed, he could do it himself on a weekend without depending on programmers. So I said to Remy, while walking my dog, why can't we simply let the Bell Canada manager type the forms as he normally would write them, simply putting semicolons between each cell? Remy looked at me and said, "Do you know what you just said?" I said, "No." He said, "You just invented a computer language." We rented an hotel room, worked till 2 in the morning every day from 8 in the morning for 6 weeks, and wrote the first compiler for the spreadsheet. I realized that by incorporating forward referencing, it would be much easier for both users and programmers, and you wouldn't have to worry about the sequence of execution of instructions. If you dropped your punch cards, it wouldn't matter. We allowed for decision-making within cells and even access to external databases. We divided it into 2 languages. LanPar was a spreadsheet, and Outcome was the output command language to let you generate reports very easily. The contracts we signed were licensing agreements. We copyrighted the source code, and we kept the ownership. In 1983, we obtained the world's first software patent for forward referencing, and we lost that in 1996. But that's a story for another day.
It's a really neat story of how software was created back in those days. A lot of the work that was used to develop the spreadsheet is still preserved. A lot of the documentation, flowcharts, Fortran code, punch tape, most of that is incredibly well preserved.
There's so much material that's original, going back to 1969. One of the manuals was the actual presentation provided to 18 vice presidents of AT&T to teach them how to program in 1 hour.
Yeah, when I think of my father's work on the spreadsheet, it's amazing that he played such a pivotal role on something used by just about everyone in the world.
This is for anyone that appreciates computer science, innovation, and wants to own a piece of history. For any entrepreneur, I suggest that any endeavor be driven by a cause, because then you have a passion. It's with that passion and drive that you can have an impact on people's lives.